Hey guys, JJ here, and it looks like it may finally be happening. Capcom may actually be remaking Resident Evil Code Veronica. Not only that, but they also may be remaking another unexpected title, Resident Evil 0. So with that being said, let's get right into it. The Resident Evil hype train is in full effect. It shouldn't be long before we see a reveal of the next Resident Evil game in the series. With the success of the recent Resident Evil remakes, fans are now wondering what game will be remade next. While there are many possibilities, many fans can agree. There's one in particular that is the most deserving of the remake treatment, and that is Resident Evil Code Veronica. Not only for the dated gameplay mechanics, but for the importance of the overall story and lore for the series. Well, it looks like Capcom is well aware of the importance of a remake of Code Veronica and may actually be developing it right now. Before we get into that, I just want to say that the Resident Evil rumors are currently at an all-time high, so much so that it's difficult to keep up. Don't worry though, you've come to the right place. For all the latest Resident Evil news, leaks, and rumors, make sure to subscribe. Well-known Resident Evil leaker and insider, Dusk Golem, aka Aesthetic Gamer, is back and here to set the record straight and correct a lot of the misinformation that's going around. In a series of tweets released yesterday, Dusk revealed a lot of information. Before we get into it though, I should clarify that everything you are about to hear is currently a rumor and should be taken with a grain of salt until we get official word from Capcom. With that being said, Dusk has been correct with a lot of the information he's shared in the past and is generally a go-to source for Resident Evil, so I'll let you make your own judgment. But here's what Dusk had to say. I'm choosing to be the one to burst the bubble in a bigger way of what's going on with the Resident Evil stuff. First, I would like to wipe the expectations of Resident Evil 9 being announced this summer, period. The initial murmurs I heard I now believe are right, and Resident Evil 9's announcement is further away than this upcoming summer. Sorry for the back and forth on that, that's my fault. Resident Evil 9 is being pushed back to late 2025-2026. Hearing Resident Evil 9 was pushed back is unfortunate, but at the same time, I don't think Capcom would make that call unless it needed more time. If that's the case, then I'm totally okay with it. I'd much rather any studio take the time to make sure the game has all the development time it needs and doesn't rush out a product to please shareholders. I'm okay with waiting, but if true, I wouldn't expect a big reveal anytime soon. Dusk then goes on to say, the Resident Evil 1 remake rumors are bullshit. As far as I know, Resident Evil 1 remake is not in any form of development right now. He also says if everything he heard is correct, which he fully believes it is, then there's actually a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica and Resident Evil 0 currently in development right now. He also then goes on to say that he's known about this for over a year. Eventually it was going to come out, but he wanted to be the one to do it. Dusk then follows up with more clarification on the Resident Evil 0 remake. He says, from what I've heard, 0 is primarily being led by K2 and M2, which most recently did the Separate Ways DLC for Resident Evil 4 Remake and were a supported studio on Resident Evil 4. Code Veronica is Capcom Dev 1 with a lot of the same people who worked on Resident Evil 2 and 4 remakes. He then clarifies back to his previous leak about 5 Resident Evil games currently in development that these 3 being in development doesn't mean they're the only 3, just the only 3 he's choosing to publicly talk about. The 5 titles thing he is not flipping on at all. He's just not talking about the other titles on social media. That was a lot to take in. I can't tell you how excited it makes me to hear that Code Veronica remake may currently be in development. While I've said a remake of Code Veronica is the most deserving of a remake for what the story does for the overall lore, I never thought Capcom would actually do it due to the sales numbers of the original game. If true, then Capcom really is paying attention to the community and has the best intentions for the overall story and lore for the fans. I can't wait to see what they do with Code Veronica. Moving on now to a Resident Evil 0 remake, I never would have thought that was a possibility. Now, while I've always enjoyed Resident Evil 0 for the gameplay and the characters, I've always had my reservations about the story and how it ties in with Resident Evil 1. I believe a remake of Resident Evil 0 would help greatly with some of those issues and tie the game better into Resident Evil 1. This is the only time you'll ever hear me say that I think some creative liberties are okay. What makes me a little skeptical though is that the same company responsible for the Resident Evil 3 remake is now remaking Resident Evil 0. I was also unaware that the DLC for Resident Evil 4 remake, Separate Ways, was developed by M2, and I really enjoyed that. So maybe they've learned a few things since, and Capcom gives them enough time to properly remake 0. Only time will tell, but this news has me far more excited than I could have expected. Let's hope it's true, but now I'm curious to know your thoughts. What do you think about potentially getting a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica? What do you think about the surprise Resident Evil 0 remake? Do you think these games should be remade, or are they fine as they are? What other Resident Evil games would you prefer to be remade? Let us know down below in the comments, and let's have a discussion about it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and for all the latest Resident Evil news, leaks, and rumors, make sure to subscribe. The Residents of Evil is a Patreon-supported channel and also supported by our YouTube members. So if you'd like to become a member and unlock access to custom badges, emojis, and exclusive live streams, click that join button down below. You can join our survival horror community on Discord, link will be in the description, and I have the Duke here to tell you a little about our sponsor, G Fuel.
Do you have need of anything for the road ahead? The Residents of Evil has expanded its services. Perhaps you're in need of a little pick-me-up. I recommend the G Fuel. You can even get a fair discount if you use the code ROE upon purchase. And as always, we thank you for your patronage, stranger.
As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope to see you back at the Residents of Evil.